Hello, my most amazing artists. How are you today? Well, today you might be thinking, why is Miss Rose wrapped up in warm, cozy quilts? I don't know, because it's hot outside, so I gotta unwrap. Whew. Well, today we are going to talk about this piece of art. It's a quilt from early America, and I want to tell you about how quilting is a form of art. So first of all, let me talk to you about these quilts. Now, I am not a seamstress. I do not know my way around a sewing machine. So these quilts were actually made by friends of mine. This one right here was made by a friend, and she has all sorts of cool pieces of fabric worked into this quilt. You can tell that it's a quilt because it has small pieces of fabric sewn together in a pattern. The next one I want to show you is a quilt that was made by a different friend of mine for when my daughter was a baby. And so can you see the different fabric that is sewn together here? She picked out all these cool designs and she sewed them together to make a quilt. Now, how is this blanket different than a quilt? Is this a quilt? Do you see any pieces of fabric sewn together? Or is it all just one piece of fabric? Yeah, it's one piece. It has designs on it from different colors, but since it's not little pieces of fabric sewn together, it's not a quilt. We would just call it a blanket. So today, as we look at this design, I want you to look closely to see elements of art. All right, so the first thing I want you to look at is shape. Do you see some different shapes in that picture? I see some small squares, kind of turned like a diamond. And what you'll also notice is the repetition that happens. With a quilt, the repeating pattern makes its own design. So you can see like these big white diamond shapes and these crisscrossing red shapes. This is actually called a double Irish chain quilt. And the reason why we're learning about these in 3G is because in early America, which you're learning about in history, quilt making was a very popular thing to do. And the quilt patterns that people made were passed on from generation to generation. And so there are even stories about how quilts would sometimes have special secret messages in them for the time when slaves were escaping. And they would use these quilt patterns to show the slaves where safe houses were for the Underground Railroad. So there's a few stories about that too. Today, we aren't gonna make a quilt because I don't even know how to make a quilt, but we are going to use the idea of repetition and small squares to make a cool design. So here's one example that I made of our project today. And right now, I am going to show you how to do that on a sheet of paper that has a grid like this. You'll find this in your packet. All right, you're gonna need a pencil and some markers. Here we go. As I said, you'll need this piece of paper from your packet to complete this assignment. And in your packet, it also gives you 7 steps to do the project. So I will be using those to help you get started. Step 1, use a pencil to draw a geometric design in box 1. Use shapes and lines, but don't draw recognizable objects. All right, so you want to keep it simple because you're going to have to draw it over and over again. So I think in box 1 today, I am going to do a diagonal line here and here, and then I'll put so that should be pretty easy to draw a bunch of times. Step 2 says draw a different geometric design in box 2. My advice is to draw something totally different so it doesn't get mixed up. So I don't want to do diagonal lines like that again. Maybe I want to do a curvy line. So for this one, I think I will do a curve that touches those sides. And then maybe I'll do a circle in the middle. Also, these numbers, you're gonna color over those. So just ignore the numbers. You can draw over them however you want to. The next thing is step 3, draw a different geometric design in box 3. So you are making a total of 3 different designs. So the one I'm going to do in box 3, I think I will do an X shape with a square in the middle. So now it's time to start repeating everything I drew. And so step 4 says draw exactly what you drew in box 1 in all of the squares labeled with a 1. So I'm going to take this exact design and draw it again in box 1. So there we go, and then this shape here. Now, as you start moving on with this, you'll notice that all the ones go diagonally like this. So sometimes I just do one line at a time and I go down like this so that I can make sure that I don't draw in the wrong square, because if you get distracted, you might accidentally put it in the wrong square. So if you just follow this diagonal kind of, you can see all the ones go diagonally and put your first line in there, you'll have better luck not mixing up your squares. All right, I'm gonna finish the ones. Okay, now I'm ready to repeat step box 2. So draw exactly what you drew in box 2 and all the squares labeled with a 2. All right, so I'm going to do this curve and I'm gonna just do that. That's like my first step. I'm gonna do that in all of the 2s. And then next is box 3. So again, I'm just going to do like my first line. And in fact, this one, since it's diagonally, just can go through all of these corners and I can just use one long line. Now that might not work with your design. Okay, now I'm ready to add color. Markers are going to be the best way to add color because they're bright and vibrant, and that's going to look awesome. So when you use the markers to color, you need to design each one differently, but remember to keep the exact colors the same in all the repeating boxes. And so I'm just going to pick some bright colors and get started. I might go ahead and design my first 3 first, just to make sure I am happy with how the colors look together. So for example, you might want to do like one of yours with all warm colors and then the next one with all cool colors. But that's totally up to you. It can be, you know, however you want with the colors. You might not want them to blend together too much. And then you're gonna want to color the entire box. So like you might think that the background here doesn't need to be colored, that it could stay white, and that is not correct. You need to make sure that every part of that box is colored in with a color. So I'm gonna do the blue like that. And then I'm going to do the green in the background corners, here, here, and here. And then I think I will put pink in the center of this one. And then the last design I'm going to do is this one. Now if you wanted to take the easy way, you could color that entire middle part purple, but then or whatever color, but then you would lose the little triangle shapes. So I'm gonna make sure I color those triangles with different colors so that you can still see them like that. Then, let's see, I'll do some yellow. And it's okay to use black too. Black is definitely an option. Okay, now that I've planned my 3 boxes, I just repeat those colors in the exact same way. So instead of capping and uncapping all your markers, you might want to just take your first color and color that in on all of the boxes first. So then you can just use that marker without capping and recapping. As you can see, I'm still working on coloring my designs. I wanted to give you another tip real quick. As you can see on this last design, I colored the lightest color first. And that's helpful because then, I don't know if some of your markers might smear if you take a dark color and then color over it with a lighter color. So I did the yellow first, then I'm gonna do the light blue. And the other tip I want to give you is that the way it's easier to color is to outline your shape like that and then color in the white space. That usually goes pretty quick. And don't forget to just keep doing the same little design with the same color so that you don't have to cap and recap your marker. That will slow you way down. So I'll finish it up and I'll show you the final product. As you can see, I am finishing up my last few designs. And I want to tell you also that this will look really great if you cut off the white background. Like if you really like how yours turned out, like mine, I'm thinking it's pretty cool. I am going to cut off the white border and I am going to glue it onto a black piece of paper like a frame. And I think it'll look really sharp. Now remember, if you don't want to send these in with your packet, because who knows when I'll be able to get it back to you, I will save them if you put hard work into it. But if you want to keep it, you can just have your parent take a picture of it with their phone and email it to me. Okay, my paper was a little bit big, so I'm just going to trim it. And there is my final project. All right, I hope you enjoyed doing yours. Can't wait to see it.